He was such a lovely fella. No one had anything bad to say about him.
Saturday, September 1st started like any other day, but little did the residents of Audenshaw, a suburb of Manchester, know what was about to unfold.
God, you hear about things happening like this all the time, but you don't expect it to happen on your doorstep.
Yeah, I remember the morning quite well. I woke up early. I felt the heat of the sun on my face. I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, great! I can finally get those miniatures painted." It was 3 Space Marines I wanted to paint.
Well, such a nice guy. I mean, I only saw him the other day.
I got my stick. I used a spray stick. I got my stick and I stuck a miniature to it, and then another one, and a third one, and I went outside. I started to spray first with a red primer, and then with the yellow paint, and it all went really well. I remember thinking, "Oh my god, this has gone really well." It was when I came back inside that it happened. I came into the dining room and I went to put my stick down to let the miniatures dry. But as I reached out to put the stick down, it slipped from my grip. It hit the floor, and then I'm sorry. Can we stop for a minute?
This unfortunate hobbyist miniatures were grievously damaged, but thanks to YouTubers like Big Mac Danskull, they were not beyond recovery.
How you doing, guys? Big Mac Danskull here again today, back once again with another episode of Warhammer Thoughty K. Who was that fella there? Looked like he could have been a handsome chap behind them pixels, didn't he? Poor lad though. I can't believe he dropped those miniatures. Fear not. I'm going to tell you how we can rescue them. Because the subject of today's video is about making the most of your mistakes. Whether that's a painting mistake, or a mistake where you drop a miniature that you're painting and then it becomes damaged in some way. It's possible to take advantage of those mistakes and turn them into something like battle damage. So after hearing about this poor lad who's dropped his miniatures, I thought, yeah, I'm going to make a video about how he can take advantage of a bad situation. But I just didn't know when I was going to make it. And then I got a comment on a video not too long ago, in the past couple of weeks it was, where a viewer had said they'd sprayed the miniatures, but the spray had come out kind of gritty. And then that gave me the idea to make this video where something's gone wrong and you take advantage of that. Handily, for that commenter, it was Nurgle miniatures. Now Nurgle, if you're not sure, is a chaos god of decay, of death, of pestilence, of rot, of disease. So I suggested to that commenter, if the gritty texture of the spray doesn't really take any detail away from the miniature, you can make a feature out of that by dry brushing browns and oranges, sort of typical rust colours, onto the miniature. This works in some circumstances, but not in others. For example, if the spray had made a gritty texture on the flesh, that might not make sense because the rust isn't going to spread to the flesh. It's not likely to anyway. So the rust is going to be a feature on the armour. So if the grittiness is on the armour, it works really well, and you can take advantage of that situation and use the gritty texture to your advantage. With regards to the clip you saw at the start of this video, with the unfortunate gentleman that dropped his miniatures, there was a bit of damage on one of the shoulders, a bit of damage on the backpack. The idea I would suggest there is just making it look like a bit of battle damage, basically. And with the damage being on the shoulder pad and on the backpack, if you can imagine yourself, put yourself in a Space Marine's position on a battlefield. There might be tight confines of a ruined building you've got to get through. What's going to be scraping on those buildings, on the window frames and stuff of those buildings? It's going to be your shoulder pad, it's going to be your backpack, it's going to be your extremities, really. So anything from knee pad, boots, greaves, shoulder pads, backpacks, van braces, all that sort of stuff. That's what's going to be knocking on the walls. And also your shoulder pad is going to be, it's a big piece of armour on a Space Marine, so it's going to take a lot. They tend to fire with the right hand, so with the trigger in the right hand. So the left shoulder pad will take a lot of damage from incoming fire, but also there could be fire coming from all different directions. So don't forget, the right shoulder pad will take damage as well. The damage happened to be on the right shoulder pad and on the backpack. Making a feature of that is pretty simple, especially if you've sprayed your miniature with an undercoat first and then a base coat. So the way I spray my miniatures is with a red undercoat and from below, and then a sort of zenithal yellow base coat. If that happens to reveal the base coat, it's like a browny red. It's a really good colour for the yellow to create a sort of a battle damage effect. A brown works as well also. I'll point you towards my spraying your Primaris Marines yellow video just up here. And yeah, so basically take advantage of your mistakes. You're not always going to be able to take advantage of your mistakes, so sometimes you'll drop a miniature, it'll smash into 1,000 pieces, and it's going to be difficult to even find all the pieces. Never mind put them all together perfectly in the way that they were originally formed. There is going to be battle damage that just doesn't make sense. If you sit on a miniature, if you drop a tool or a brick on a miniature or something like that, and the face becomes damaged, it's harder then to make a good feature of that damage. You could do scars and stuff like that if there's an exposed area of flesh that becomes damaged. You can do scars and things like that. You can do big gouges and rents in the armour and make a feature of that. You've just got to find the right way to paint it. If you search Google for battle damaged armour, if you search on Google for battle damaged armour, then you will get a lot of results. You'll get real life results, but if you search for Warhammer 40,000 battle damaged armour, then you'll get the kind of results that you need to help you out with this sort of project. I've never done a video on doing battle damage. I have done bits of battle damage on things like the Munitorum armoured containers, but not on a miniature. Don't think I have anyway. I do intend to do it on some miniatures because I don't really like the clean look you get with some paint jobs. The classic 90s style of heavy metal was like a really clean paint job, very little shading, and it was super clean and well looked after armour. But to me, if I'm using miniatures on the tabletop, I want it to look like they've been battling for a few days at least, you know, where they've taken a lot of hits, direct or indirect. They've been crawling through the undergrowth, they've been bouncing through rubble and through terrain that is less than hospitable, and their armour has taken damage, taken wear and tear. There are certain races that lend themselves to battle damage more than others. For example, a lot of Eldar players wouldn't necessarily want to make their vehicles or the armour on their aspect warriors or guardians look battle damaged, because Eldar are the kind of race that want everything perfect. They seem like that kind of race anyway. With when you read about them in the books, the Path of the Eldar series and things like that, they want everything to be right and everything to be perfect, and they hold themselves to a higher standard than the base monkey, the human race, and the younger races in the galaxy in general. But I think really you can get away with putting battle damage on any race. That's my preference. I want at least a little bit of damage on. You know, I'm willing to try a little bit of damage on all of the races. For example, Necrons, they have a living metal skeleton, so really they wouldn't suffer much battle damage. They have the rules and in the fluff. Things like reanimation protocol, where they come back to life miraculously and are reformed into the perfect Necron warrior shape or Necron immortal shape or whatever unit it happens to be. So theoretically they shouldn't really have battle damage, and yet you see if you search images on Google for rust Necrons, you'll see people have painted them up in these rusty colours, and it works really well in my opinion. I prefer things like rust Necrons to the normal Necrons. I find them normal Necrons a bit bland, but there are ways of painting them that make them more appealing to the people that they wouldn't normally appeal to. So don't be afraid to try and take advantage of your mistakes. You know, you don't have to, if something goes wrong when you're painting a miniature, whether you're spraying it or painting it with a brush, you don't have to strip it back to the bare plastic or the bare resin. You don't have to dump it in a tub of Dettol, or you don't have to get your BioStrip 120 out, whatever product you use to strip the paint off your miniatures. You don't always have to do that. You may have to do it in some circumstances. If you're going for a really specific look, if you're going for a clean look, you may have to do it, unfortunately. Think twice, you know, do you need this model to be perfectly clean and in pristine armour? What is the purpose of the model? Are you going to be gaming with it? Or is it just a display piece? Either way, you can use things like battle damage, rotten flesh, other effects. There's plenty of effects out there, scars on the flesh. So just think twice before you start again with the miniature, basically. Whatever miniature you're building and painting, there's probably a way of putting battle damage on it and making it look good. So it's worth just typing into Google Images. Let's say you're painting an Orc Boy, for example, battle damage Orc Boy, or you're painting a Tau crisis suit, battle damage crisis suit, just things like that. Or if you paint a particular colour, battle damage on white armour, battle damage on red armour. Just, you can search Google for literally anything. You don't need me to tell you that, you should know that already. So there's an answer probably for many, probably 90-95% of the damage you do to a miniature or the mistakes you make on a miniature. There's probably a way you can turn that to an advantage. So think twice before you strip it back to the bare plastic. So I hope this video helps you think twice next time you come across a damaged miniature in your collection, or next time you're painting a miniature and damage it. Let me know what you think of my ideas, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you're not already. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.